Well, hi my friends. This is Jay, and this is Jay's Knit and Purl Jam. Alright, I know it's been a minute, but I have work that had to be done. I had projects to finish and to work on, and now I want to show them to you. Let you know that I just wanted to knit all the things. I don't know, something just got into me. It's that new mojo I hired, remember? She just won't give me a break every minute of the day. Oh, do this, do that. So that's what I just surrendered and said, okay. And I've had my nose to the grind, and I've been really working up a storm. Well, how are you? How have you been doing? What are you working on? Are you excited that the weather has gotten a little cooler in most places? Even, if it was, you may be colder than where we are, but it just feels so good just to have a cool breeze every once in a while. I see another storm is brewing, so I hope that no one is in harm's way. My gosh, the storms, one after another. But like I said, once the cool breeze came, I just wanted to knit all the sweaters. I just wanted to knit everything. So, like I say, everything is great. I thank you for being concerned and checking in on me and asking me how we're doing. We're doing great. We're just trying to be part of the solution and not part of the problem. And we're just hanging in here just like you. And I decided, well, first of all, do you remember when I first came on way back in the day, those that have been with me a while? My friend Judy and I used to do Knit in the Mall Fridays. On every Friday morning, we would run away from our house, from our husbands, from washing, from cleaning, from cooking, and we'd go over to our local mall. I mean, we went from like 10 in the morning, and we'd stay to 6 that night. I mean, it was an all-day thing. I mean, we would go in there and set up our little area. We'd wipe everything down with our Lysol wipes. We'd put a little tablecloth. Sometimes we'd bring a little vase of flowers. We became mall squatters. But every morning before the stores open, the mall opens first, and then the stores open a little later because the mall and the food court opens early, because a lot of seniors go there and walk and eat breakfast and all of that. So we'd go and we'd go and walk around at least one time around the top, and then that was during our Weight Watcher days. We went to Weight Watchers together for a whole year, and then we started knitting at the mall and doing our little walk, and then we'd get our little breakfast, and then we'd go sit down, and we had a little area that we kind of liked, and that we had pretty decent light. But we'd clean and decorate, and then the head of the mall would come through every morning before all the stores just to check the mall and make sure everything was ready. And he had no problem. He was excited. He'd stop and talk to us all the time and wish us well. And he told us he was glad that we were there. So we had a home away from home. And people would come out of the stores and talk to us. And a lot of people would, tell us how they knit things, how they were knitters and all of that. So I have to tell you some of my mall stories. I won't do it tonight. I'll do it another time. But yeah, we met a lot of nice people in the mall. Knit at the Mall Fridays. And of course, after she died, I tried to go back and do a little bit. I'm thinking, well, maybe I'll meet somebody else. But you know what? It just wasn't the same. And I just could not do it. So I just brought my little carry pack and all my little yarn back home. And just, really got into, that's when I really started getting into my videos, into working, and, meeting new YouTube friends like you. So when we was at the knit mall, the whole story was, this is when I started, because the air would blow down from the mall, the air came down, and it would just make you so cold, but you didn't want to sit there with gloves and your coat on. So I started making these little sweaters. I call them my turtleneck toppers. So I'm just simply going to call this Jay's turtleneck, and since it's fall, my turtleneck fall toppers. It went on top of my turtleneck sweaters. In the wintertime, I wear a lot of black or dark colors. I don't do it on the camera because, you see, I have a problem with getting the light. Remember to turn the lights on. So, but in my regular life, I wear a lot of dark, long-sleeve turtleneck sweaters, either the big turtleneck or the mock turtleneck. And so this would be like a topper. It goes on top, and it kept the air, and we didn't get sick knitting at the mall. And I looked back, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to go back and redesign that sweater and bring it just kind of redesign it, give it a nicer, updated look or twist or whatever. And that's exactly what I've done. And as you can see from the pictures, Jay has been busy. So I thought I would go ahead and share this because it's a very simple sweater. It's gonna, again, if you're new, if you're new, understand the basics of knitting, or if you're coming back from, maybe you used to knit when you were younger at a different time and now you're coming back. Or you're crossing over from maybe crochet some and you want to get more into knitting. This is the perfect sweater for you. It's just 2 pieces, and I'm going to show you how to think it through in simple terms and how to just put it together and have a pretty stitch. And I think it's just a perfect way to get into garment or sweater knitting. And let's see, I didn't have a lot. I'll show you what little yarns I bought when I did go out. I don't go out a lot, but I was able to get out. But man, I just get so nervous now when I go out. I guess being in the house, and you having to be in the house, because I always like being at home, but having to, you can't go out, or you shouldn't go out that much. So I really dash in, dash out, come back in, dash out, come back in. So I'm just dallying because I hadn't talked in so long. I was losing my voice. I hadn't seen my friends. I said, oh, Lord, I need to talk to someone, somebody, somewhere. So I hope you all are well. I hope you're finding ways to get through this, exploring different ideas or exploring different other crafts or just finding things that will just keep you uplifted, because we're all in the same boat, people. We're in the same boat, and once people get that in their head and understand that nobody gets out of this unless we get out all together. Nobody's going to get out of this. We got to get out together. So I'm just going to keep on knitting everything I can. Oh, and I do have a new top-down sweater. This little sweater I'm going to go to the counter and share with you. It's like I said, it's more for beginners, but then I am working on a new top-down sweater. In fact, I got 2 or 3 more sweaters that I really want to get off the needles. So I'm glad you're here. Thank you for waiting on me. I'm just so happy to have someone to just talk to. I'm just finding myself talking to the television, talking to the computer. It is just so boring. But I thank you so much for joining me. And as I take you to the counter, I hope you give this style sweater. This is the old style now. The new one you're going to see is much more refreshing and uplifting. And, I think you're going to like it. So, nothing else to show or to share with you. So we want to go to the counter and let's get started. Jay's knit my turtleneck fall topper just for my friends. Let's get started. Alright, so I just wanted to give a quick overview on, like I said, this simple little easy 2-piece sweater. It's just like it looks. Just straightforward, a front and a back. Alright, so now here's the black, and I'm going to do it real quick because it's so hard to see all the detail work, but I wanted you to see it in black since I do wear a lot of black, and I'll show you some of the other yarns at the end. But this was just generic black, some of my yarns out of the stash, listen, you can pick any quality of yarn you want. I just need it to be, because I've got it gauged to a regular or medium number 4 weight yarn. And it can be high end, or it can be just this plain everyday yarn. Like this is Hobby Lobby. This is just generic black Hobby Lobby, or whatever you use, or Vanna, or something from Joann's. All right, then the first thing you need to do is pick out a variegated yarn. I already had this. This is what I'm trying to do, is use up this yarn. I've got bins and bins of yarn, people. Now I got to go buy more bins because I bought more yarn. So you pick a yarn, you pick a variegated yarn, because not that many people use variegated yarn that much anymore. So I'm trying to find a way to use mine up. And out of this variegated yarn, I picked a color one of the solid colors. You could pick any color. There's several solid colors. You could, a teal, a green, a purple, and a black. So I picked the black because like I said, I wear a lot of black turtlenecks. All right, so now I have this, and now I simply want to combine them into this nice, cute little, which, we're going to go into detail, but I'll just move the flower. But you can see it's simply you sew up the shoulder seams. The side seams have buttons. I didn't even have to sew the side seams. You can put 3, 4, however many buttons you need to, but as long as you got to leave enough for your arm space. Just like that. You see that? That's all that is. I just sewed the buttons on. Now this is the front, and then the other little decorative part I wanted to show you for this sweater is I added some of the same color and the lace, or the stitch we're going to work on the front, on the back. I just put one stripe across, and I put these a little low, but I have raised them on the sample we're going to work on, so that you can see it better. All right, so that is the first sweater. This is the black one. Like I said, this is one that is more of the 2X or 3X. I'm making this for someone else, so I'll have to make me another one for my size. All right, and you saw the yarn. Let's see. All right, now I want to tell you about, let me show you the other sweater. This is the one in gray. Let me reset my camera. I'll be right back. All right, so now on this one, here's the gray one. I wanted to reset the camera, so of course it's lighter now. I can show you more detail, and you can see the design pop out more. Again, this is just some generic color. What I did, I found the accent or the decorative yarn first, something that I've had in my stash, and I wondered why I bought it, hadn't used it. I found another Hobby Lobby. This is, I don't know if this is their print, it doesn't really say, but it's a pretty color. This is called Blue Multi, or Blue Multi, who knows. But you can see the nice blend of the yarn right here. I would not be using some of the cakes that have long color changes. That would just, what gives a stripe effect. I don't know if you could try it, but I didn't care for that. So I like where it's, like I said, more variegated, or this multicolor fading yarn from one color to the other, so that the color change is very short. You can see how it lines up here. But anyway, you need at least, like I said, you're going to need at least 2 skeins, a skein of the main color for the back and a skein for the front. If you're larger, you may have to have 3 skeins, but you only really need 1 skein of this, because we only do a section in the front, and I'll show you what we did in the back. So there's the yarn for that. Now on this, now I can show you. All right, so we're going to start, here's the front. We're going to work both pieces at the same time, because it just makes more sense. Once we start the ribbing, you will have 2 needles, and I'll go over that in just a minute, but you're going to cast on at the very bottom. This is worked bottom up, so you can work back and forth. You can do the ribbing on one, and then switch over and do the ribbing on the other you know, whichever. I don't know, I lost my train of thought there somewhere. But I really want you, and then, of course, then you'll just continue to knit up, and we're going to go through everything. And on this, there's no sewing. Like I said, I just put 3 buttons on this one. I just cross the 2 borders over, front over the back, and you have your 3 button border. Leave enough space to try on so that after all it's going to be worn over, you know, a sweater. And then you're going to work. We're going to do the lace in just a minute. We're going to do this lace for so many inches. And of course, the taller you are, the more, you know, you're going to have to fill in. And I'm going to show you that in just a minute. And then we end with a nice ribbing at the top. And then we'll just simply sew up. I saved one side to sew up. We'll simply sew up the shoulders, and that's pretty much it. All right, easy peasy, really fast and easy. All right, now for the back of this, which is where we're really going to start, everyone, everywhere, every size, we're going to start on the back. You're going to cast on the front and the back on separate needles, because I want to go ahead and get this little decorative ribbon here, this little decorative stripe on the back, and this is where I will walk you step by step through the pattern. The stitch is only 4 rows, and there's 2 rows of are purl, so there's only really 2 pattern rows. Really simple and easy. But it worked out so pretty in this little multicolor yarn or variegated yarn, and I think it adds a lot to it. And of course, the back is just knit straight up. See? Just knit straight up. Alright, so now the next thing, let's see. I've had to redo this tape a couple of times, so the next thing, I'm not sure what I've said on this tape, but I didn't want to go into a lot of detail. I'm trying to get over and get right to it. So, but there's the gray one. This is one my size. This is mine. I will be wearing it. I'll wear it for you on another date. Alright, let's see now. I want to go over, well, let's just see. Let's do real quick. Here's our needles. Now let me back and see if I'm up. I think I can come in a little bit. Alright, on the needles, this sweater is gauged to a US number 9, whatever number 9. I use clovers because the bamboos are just great for seniors, for your joints, for, you know, new knitters or returning knitters. It just takes the weight and pressure off your joints and your hands and everything. This is a US number 9 circular needle, 36 inches in length. And I've gone many times over how to take this to the ironing board and just put a little towel and then just run your iron over the cord to straighten it out. Because once you take it out of the package, it's very unruly because it's been, you know, coiled up. You will need 2, one for the front, one for the back. You will cast on. You will look at your formula that I've worked out, the math and everything, and giving you a cast on number, and you will cast on the same number for the back, the same number for the front. And then, of course, when we start working the ribbing, you can do the front rib, put it aside, then we're going to start on the back, you know, then you can work the back ribbing, and that way you don't have to go back to the very bottom. Once you work a little bit on this one, move up on this one, on the opposite piece. Alright, let me check everything, and I will be right back to show you something even special. Alright, so now before we actually get started, and I break down some of the my working formula, this time I think we need to draw a little schematic. Just take a sheet of paper, and you're just going to draw a little, it's just a visual aid. It lets you kind of see what you're thinking in your mind or what I'm saying. So I've just drawn a little idea of, you know, the front of the sweater. Okay, now, what I need to know, or what you'll need to do, is take your tape measure. You can work in inches or centimeters, whatever it is you work in. We work in inches. And I need to know about how many inches from the top of your shoulder to where you want your sweater to stop. Mine stops a little below my waist, below my belly button, but it doesn't really go way over my hips. So this is not really one, unless you're a very slender person, it's not going to go down over my hips. So I am allowing 20 inches. My mouth got stuck. So I have 20 inches as my length of my sweater. Okay? All right. Now, how do I want to break down, or how did I have to break down this 20 inches to get in everything I want to do in this sweater? All right, first we're going to start at the ribbing. Okay? The ribbing is going to be about 1.5 inches to 2 inches. It depends on how tall you are, and, if you need to add more, that's fine, but this is where I am. I'm right in the middle. I'm using myself as an example. So I set aside at least 1.5 inches to 2 inches for this 1x1 ribbing that we're going to do on the bottom of each piece, front and the back. Now, from that point up, I need to get to my underarm. I need to get to my arm space where my sleeve will start, or my arm space will start. And I need at least 9 inches. When you hear me show you when I'm talking, I say 11, but that means I went ahead and added 9 and 2. So from the very bottom to my arm space, it's 11 inches. But 1.5 inches or 2 of them is set aside for the ribbing, and then that leaves me 9 to get up to my arm space. My lace ran me about 6 inches, because I've got to remember, I got to try to stay close to my 20. Don't be afraid if you have to go over to get this pattern in here. And it doesn't matter. This is just an idea. This is just a base number. That's all this is. Even the numbers that I give you to cast on, they're just base numbers. If you have to go over to finish up a pattern or to get it to a certain, to line it up right, to get each piece to line up, no problem. Okay? So I know that I'm going to do 6 inches for the lace, and I had about 7 repeats. So that came a little over 5, 6, close to 6 inches maybe. All right? Because I want to end with 3 inches, a good 3 inches for the top ribbing. This is ribbing that we're going to have at the top, ribbing at the bottom, and then we're going to end with ribbing. And then, of course, all we have to do, we can just leave the ribbing as a neckline, and then we'll sew each shoulder. Does that make sense? So this is what you need to do to kind of get an idea, so it's in your mind. Okay, now this is how my sweater is going to look. And then, of course, you keep this. Every time you want to do the sweater, you just change the lace or come up with something else. If your numbers work out good for you, just use them over and over. I've been using these numbers over and over. My sweater is 96 stitches across. That means I get 96 for the front and 96 for the back. It so happens that this particular stitch, the multiple is 6 plus 5. It worked out that it gave everyone a cast on number that is odd. Normally we'd have to add 1 stitch to make it an odd number. 1x1 ribbing worked flat, you need an odd number. If we were working it in the round, you'd have an even number. So it worked out perfect. I didn't have to add any more stitches. But this is good to have. This is good to keep, and go ahead and just like I drew it in, it's just for you. Decide on how the length your base number wants to be. I'm working towards 20. If it goes over, it's okay. And then I've already separated what I'm looking for. And then once we start knitting, I'm going to show you, I'm going to use my easy count system to show you how to make it even easier to make sure the front and the back will match up. All right, so that's that. Those are numbers and measurements that you need to take. Okay? All right, so now the next step, okay, all right, let me clear this up, and then I'll be right back with something. We'll talk about my information sheet before it goes up on the screen. I always like to kind of explain it a little bit, because some people still are new and trying to understand when there's not a real written pattern. I give you enough information, and then I take you step by step. But sometimes people like to have something to look at. All right, just like this schematic. All right, be right back. All right, so This is just the little information sheet that you will see on the screen. And for those that are new, to my little system, most of you have really worked it out pretty well and understand what we're doing and how to center things. And, because I keep my numbers very simple and even or divisible by 4, that just makes it easier. Is it really high-end knitting? Not really. But is it easy care, easy wear knitting? You bet. I'm just messing with you. Oh, but I appreciate everyone who gives my simple designs a try. I really appreciate it. It gives me, it's a motivation and it encourages me. That Jay, hang on in there. It's slow going. It's tough out here in these streets for us seniors. Trying to make a buck or two. But I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Oh, and I got a surprise coming, one of my viewers. Let's see, I hope I say it right. Is it Tom Walker? Oh my gosh. He went all out. So I'm working on something special for him that will come up near the end of the month. All right, but stay focused, Jay. Get back to this. All right, so now here's my formula for my turtleneck ball toppers. This was gauged to using a US number 9 needle. I'll say it again. I've shown you the needles. I just use a bamboo because they're easy for seniors. All right. It just works better. And for new knitters, it gives you more control over the stitch. The stitches don't fall off as much. You're working with a number 4 weight yarn. We've already said that. So I have that on here so that anytime you come back, anytime you ever need to find, to work the sweater, you have this information all ready for you to look at. I show you the book, where the stitch came from. Now the working formula. This is Jay's working formulas. All right, for instance, and let's see if I'm on camera. This is going to be on the screen, but I'm just sharing with you. So when you see it, you'll know what you're looking at. Just by mathematical formula. I don't know your body. I don't know you like that. I don't know. You don't know mine. I don't know. You don't know that I was eating something last week and now it's showing up. Okay. But I can, after I work up a mathematical formula, math formulas, everything we do and everything in the whole world and everything in life is based on a mathematical formula. H2O, well, if you change H2, maybe you're going to put something else, H3O, that becomes something else. See, everything is based on, so the formulas will speak for themselves, and you can use them over and over. Only if you change the yarn and the needle, or you change your size, then you'll have to start from the beginning and count the stitches like I've shared with many of you before. I've got other videos on how to sit down and count stitches. But for instance, I work from my own, I use my own Sept as an example. That means I can count backwards or work forward. So for small to medium, the estimated stitch count is about 88 stitches. That means you get 88 stitches for the front of your sweater and 88 stitches for the back. So I take that 88 stitches and I figure out how many repeats I want to have. This lace is a multiple of 6 plus 5, and I didn't think I just felt like, a lot of people say, Jay, okay, that math is just getting to me. So I'm giving you the end formula. All right, the end formula, working formula for you, small to medium, worked out to have 6 stitches for a border on each side of the sweater. 6 stitches. Then you're going to work the lace stitches. You're going to have 77 stitches to work the lace. I forgot how many repeats is that. Well, let's see if I wrote it down. I wrote it down somewhere, but let's see. That was about, just so you have an idea. Oh, it's about 12 repeats. So for this small person to medium, you're going to repeat the pattern about 12 times plus these 2 borders, and you add that all together, you're going to cast on 89 stitches on both needles. Put them out here so you remember. Go ahead and do both so they'll be ready. You don't have to stop and go, okay, now how many was I supposed to cast on? And no, they'll be ready. You can just hop back and forth from one to the other. All right. Then you move up to my size. I'm kind of in the large to 1x. Sometimes in some things I have to creep over to 2x, but this is the basic number. See, it's a base number, 96 stitches. I've been using it forever and ever. On a size 9. Now don't send me a message. Well, Jane, I only have a number 7. No, you'll have to start from the very beginning and count stitches and do all of that. These numbers are gauged for a number 9 needle and number 4 weight yarn. Okay, so all right, I have 96 stitches for the front and 96 stitches for my back. So I can cast on 96 stitches. Well, let me give you my form and then you can see what I cast on. So mine worked out to be that I only had, these are the stitches that are left over after I figured out how many repeats I could get out of 96. And for me, let's see if I have mine on here. I may not have it on here. I'm looking at my little paper over here. Well, I think I had about 15 or so repeats. So once I figured out how many repeats, then I had whatever stitches was left over. I have 4 stitches on each side for a border. So 4 stitches plus 89 lace stitches to get all those repeats in. 89 stitches for me. And then this border, if I add that all up, I'm going to cast on each needle 97 stitches. See, I just went ahead and did it all, so that because sometimes it just wears people down and it does get confusing. I don't care how easy you try to make it. Numbers sometimes are confusing. All right, now, if you notice, all these sizes go up by 8 stitches. It doesn't take that many stitches to increase, to go up to the next size. It takes about 8 stitches, so each front and each back goes up 8 stitches. So now the next person, 2x to 3x, I'm just giving you the mathematical formula. Hopefully you can fit into one of these sizes. All right, it's 104. That's your base stitch, 104 stitches. And once I figured out how many, let's see how many on yours. I don't know if I got that. Yes, 16. You're going to have 16 repeats. I was able to get 16 repeats from the multiple of 6 plus 5. And it's going to take 95 stitches to do that. 2x or 3x, you're going to have that left. I had 5 stitches for one border and 5 stitches for the opposite border. And then the 95 stitches in for the lace, when you add that up, it comes out, you will have a cast on both needles, on each needle, 105 stitches. See? And then I went ahead and did a 4x. I want everyone to feel comfortable. You have to know your own body. You can know if maybe you've knit something else, and if you've on a number 9, I added 8 stitches onto this number and I got 112 just by math. Okay, then I had let's see, how many did I do? Well, I guess I did 16 on that. I don't know what I did on the other one. Okay, I don't know how many stitches, but anyway, it broke down to, there were 6 stitches left for one side for a border and 6 stitches left on this side. So I came out with 101 stitches for the lace. That means you'll just keep repeating the lace in the center. But once you add this, this, and this, the border and all the lace stitches, you have a cast on of 113 stitches. Voila. And that, like I said, it worked out great because the numbers are odd, so I didn't have to go back and say, okay, now we need to add one more stitch for the ribbing. It's already an odd number. We just cast on, and then we will start working the ribbing. Then after that, once we do the ribbing, we will start on the back of the sweater, the back panel of the sweater first, because I want to get the stitch in using that one little line, that one little decorative line. That's why I want us to knit together the stitch. There are 4 rows. Row 1 and row 3 are the only 2 pattern rows. The other 2, you're just going to purl the stitch. You'll knit the borders on each side, every row, everywhere, every size, but then you'll work, but on the wrong side, you just simply purl in between the markers are in between the borders. Does that make sense? All right, and of course, 4 rows, you're going to just keep repeating row 1 through 4 to your desired length. Like I said, I did 7 repeats when on the front of my sweater. We're only going to do 1 repeat on this back section. That's why I'm going to go ahead and work each row with you on this back so you can see it really clear. So that's my working formula. I just want to explain it for those who are new. Sometimes people just like me to go over it again. I just went ahead and did the math. And if these numbers work for you, if say for instance, this is just a little tip. If you've been working with me and you say, oh Jay, yeah, I did a couple of your other sweaters and I use those same numbers too. It worked out great and all that. But now I've lost a little weight. Kudos to you. Kudos to you. Say, I lost a little weight. Do I have to start over? If it's, unless you just lost a whole lot of weight, you could say if you were a medium and you lost down some, you say, ooh, I went down a little bit, Jay. Do I have to start over? You can simply take this number, the original number, your base number is 88. You can take 4 stitches off of that and drop down to 84. That means your new base number would be 84. 84 on the front and 84 on the back. The only thing is you'd have to do the math. You'd have to divide 6 into 84 how many times and then add the plus 5. You just have to do your math. Or if you, like me, if you went over a little bit and you think, oh, Jay, I think mine was a little snug. I was snug as a bug in a rug. Okay. Then you can simply go up 4 stitches. So you just go up 4 stitches. These base numbers have a range of 4 stitches up and 4 stitches down because we rounded the number off to the next number divisible by 4. So you can always go up and down 4 stitches in order to get a fit or to get a pattern into the sweater. If we were making a real fancy sweater and we needed a few more stitches, instead of messing up everything, we could just simply add 4 stitches or however many stitches you need to get that pattern in. You just don't need to go over 4 because then you're getting out of your size range. Just a lot of information. Hope it wasn't too complicated or too... Look, people, it's just yarn. It's not serious. What we're living through is serious. Okay, so I think that's it. Now it will be on the screen, and then the next thing we will do is once you've cast on, we're going to start working, and we will start on the back of the sweater. So, I think that's it. So let's get ready to knit. Back in just a little bit. So you've had a chance to look at the information sheet. It's just pretty much what we've talked about. I just write it up a little bit just so that you'll have something to refer to. And on my information sheet, you can see your size chart help that I gave, and you were supposed to work, see what you fit into. Then you see the working formula. The working formula is just how I taught myself to knit, and it's just basically one line. I get the lace or the stitch. I see how many, what's the multiple. This lace, and I'll bring the book over. I forgot to bring the book, but I'll bring it over in a minute. This lace is a multiple of 6 stitches plus 5. 6 stitches, however many repeats you want, you'll do 6, and then at the end you add a plus 5. So with my 96 stitches is what I'm allowed myself on this 9, here's number 9. I took 6 times 14, that gave me 84, plus 5, so 89 stitches. I'm going to repeat this lace 14 times. So now I write up my formula. For me, I use myself as the example. I have a border of 4 on one side and 4 on the other, and in the center, I'm going to have 89 stitches to do the lace. If I add this up, I have a cast on of 97 stitches for my sweater. You will have, like I say, your board. I've already done your working formula, but you need to cast on both your back. You're going to cast on the back of your sweater and the front of your sweater, so you can switch back and forth to do the ribbing, and that's going to save you a lot of time. Okay, because that's where we're going to start with the ribbing at the bottom. Now for this practice sample, I just simply, of course I'm doing just a few stitches. I have a border of 4, and then I only did 29 and then 4. So when you add that together, I cast on 37 stitches. And this will be important later because I'm going to give you a bonus pattern way at the end of this whole, maybe not on this video, but you know, I'm going to give you a bonus pattern. But anyway, 37 stitches. So that's your formula. That's how you read it. This is what you're working from, plus the lace that I will be, you know, I show it on the bottom of the screen like I always do as I'm working every row as we knit together. All right, so now that goes up. Now, let's go ahead and start working out. We're not up to the lace yet, so I'll tell you about the lace. What we need to do now is to do our ribbing at the bottom. I do the ribbon the same way for just about every project, unless for some reason I want to change it. But my basic ribbing is always the same. When I cast on this row of stitches, whatever is off of your formula, I call this a wrong side row because of the purl bumps. When I was teaching myself, I said, well, that's a wrong side row. All right, so on this wrong side row, this is what we're going to do. First of all, on our formula, you'll notice there's a border of 4. Sometimes I put the border after the ribbing, or I put the border on before I start the ribbing. This one will be before for this sweater, so that you have a place to bring the 2 side seams together and put your buttons. So for instance, here we go. This is just the ribbing. Everyone, every place, everywhere. Every size. All right, it is knit 4, so I want to go ahead and start working this border. I'm going to knit 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4. See that? Then I'm going to place a marker. Now I am going to start the actual ribbing, the 1-by-1 rib for this sweater. And since this represents a wrong side row, I want to start with yarn in front and purl 1. Okay, then yarn in back, knit, then front, purl, and then knit, yarn in front again, purl the stitch, and you're going to work your way across. Like I said, you've got a long row of stitches. You're going to work your way across, and if you get lost, just back up a few stitches and find a knit, purl, knit, purl. So I'm ready to knit and purl. All right, I don't know if let's see if I can just go all the way across, and that way I don't have to stop the tape for this little sample. Every time I stop, it just takes more time to get everything back focused. So let me see if I can just do it real quick. It uses up the battery to do this, but alright, so we're just working across my little sample. You've got a long row. We're starting on your back, the back of the sweater. Alright, so if you get lost, knit, purl, knit, purl. Now I'm ready to knit. Yarn in front, now purl, and knit, purl. Now you say, well, Jay, how come sometimes they do smaller needles for the ribbing? Most patterns do that. They use the small, but I just found as being a more fluffier girl, it doesn't pull in as much if I stay on the size of the needle that I'm knitting the sweater. But by all means, if you're a small person and you're like, well, I like, you know, and that's how I was taught or whatever, sure, you would be using a number 8. But like I said, I found that being fluffier, it just gives a little more ease to the bottom, to this ribbing here. So that's why, or if you get lost, knit, purl, knit, here, purl. So that's why on these sweaters that I'm sharing, you know, I'm trying to make it as simple and as easy. This is like using the one size needle, but no. And there are other times when we do need to go down to another size or smaller size. All right, now I'm getting up to, I'm looking for 4 stitches because that's what's on my formula. Or 1, 2, 3, 4, okay. So I keep going, knit, purl, all right, knit. Now listen, when I started the ribbing part, not the border, I started with a purl. So that means when I get to this side, before I get to those last 4 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, I should end with a purl. So I do knit, purl, knit, purl, knit. So now I'm going to purl, put yarn in back. Now put the marker to separate my border from my lace. And then I knit off the last 4 stitches to do the border. Does that make sense? Oops. Well, I totally missed that. So this is what you will have. Of course, my sample is smaller. I have 4 stitches over here to represent that border, and I have 4 stitches over here. All this in between is the lace. Now, if this was the wrong side, of course, when I turn the work, now I'm on the right side of the work. I'm just going to get you started. The border, you knit every row, everywhere. Just knit those 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now I'm up to the ribbing because I have a marker. And I slide the marker. Now I can just read my stitches. And this is the right side, so I want to start with a knit 1. Knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, purl 1. And then, of course, if you read the stitches, you can see that's a knit stitch. So now I do knit, then purl, then knit, and purl. And you go across your long row. And you will have a border on each end. Does that make sense? All right, let me lay this down and let me talk a minute so that, because you'll be working off camera on this part and I will too. All right, so, well, let me just switch. I'll show you this. I'll switch needles once I come back. I had these old practice needles, but I can switch. All right, so when we come back, you're going to work the 1x1 ribbing, just like I shared with you, across your long row. And you're going to work it for at least 7 rows. Every size, you're going to work 7 rows. In other words, we've already done row 1, then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then I will meet you back at row 7. Row 7, you should be on the right side, getting ready to work. This was row 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7 is where we're going to stop the ribbing and start working in stockinette for a certain number of rows. But this is what you should have. You should have a border on this end, your 1x1 ribbing in the center, and then a border. All right, so now you're to work off camera as I work, and then I will come back and then I'll give you the next step. All right, just a quick recap. We are working this simple sweater in 2 pieces, and I suggest that you go ahead and cast on the front piece, whatever your numbers from your working formula, and cast on, use the second needle, number 9, to cast on for your back piece. So now I've got my, just to remind you where we are, this is the back part of the sweater, and this is what we're going to get ready to add in just a minute. But you have, it's a lot easier if you just work them back and forth. So finish the ribbing for the front, then do the ribbing for the back, and voila, you're ahead of the game. All right, now once you finish the ribbing, that we were working on the back, I wanted to add that little lace detail on the back. So I suggest that you go ahead, now we're going to knit stockinette. Stockinette is knit on the front, purl on the back. And we're going to do that for 11 rows. So from the time you do finish up 7 rows of ribbing, working on this back section, now we're going to go into stockinette. So watch, you will knit, it's 1, then purl back 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and when you get to 11, which will be ready to knit, stop. That's where you want to stop. When I did mine, I put it down a little too low, so then I realized to make this correction. So when you get to row 11, just simply stop, and then we're going to add our contrasting color there. So in fact, go ahead and cut the main yarn. I didn't try to carry it up. It's just easy if you're new, especially. Just go ahead and cut it, but leave a 3 or 4 inch tail to weave in at the end or later. So I've done that on this sample. Here's my contrasting yarn for that particular sweater. And I told you whatever the yarn was a little earlier, so you'll just have to check back. But I'm just going to pull off some and then show you how I connect, and then let's get started. The next part is real simple. So I go ahead, I take my yarn, I've cut the original yarn. Now we're just going to knit across, so I simply take my needle and I go in to my first stitch. I take the new yarn, I make a loop, I put it over the needle, I hold it good and tight. Now watch, I need to take this tail of the original yarn, I kind of hold it over to the side of with my finger. I hold it nice and tight so I'll get a good stitch, a good connection. So now I will loop this over, pull that loop through. Now I go up under the next loop with both yarns and I knit, holding both yarns. One more. Now you can drop the tail, pull it tight. I can pull that tail tight, and I can pull the original yarn, the gray for me. I can just pull that tight. Alright, now I continue on just like I was doing. Just let those tails hang. We're not going to have a lot of tails in this, so you don't have to worry. It's not going to be a lot of tails. So now I still have 4 stitches, even though 2 of them are double, but I know when I come back I will knit them as 1 stitch. So it says knit, so knit 4. Now slide the marker, and I'm going to go back to my yellow marker. I changed for some reason. Alright, so now I'm just going to knit across. I'm going to knit across these. This is a new color, and I found that if I would just knit across and purl back a row, it made the lace stand out a lot better, at least to me, than if I just went right into, from the gray into the lace. It didn't stand out as much. Alright, so this is what you're doing. So you're going to knit across, then purl back. I will see you after you finish purling back. We will be ready to start the lace, and I'll show you the pattern, and it's just 4 rows, but only 2 rows of pattern. Really quick and easy. Alright, back in just a minute. Alright, I've knit 1 row and I purl back. Now we're ready to start our pattern, our little simple lace. Oh, I was going to tell you, this is going to be so familiar to you because look where I took the pattern, the stitch from. I've used this book so much. The crochet one I didn't get a lot out of, but this one, and I think a lot of you, this one, I got a lot of bang for my bucks. Let's just say that. So now this was on page 160, and there's a stitch called Trellis Lace. It's very simple. It's really one of the forguiding stitches, but the way they set this one up, sometimes the forguiding stitches is, where you increase and decrease. Sometimes they'll lean or have a bias to them, to the stitch, but this one comes out straight. So far it's come out straight every time. My lace didn't lean one way or the other. So this is why I thought, oh, this will be perfect for this sweater and for me to use. So if you have this book, page 160, of course I'm going through every row with you. Like I said, it's only 4 rows. Trailless lace. Voila! A lot of bang for our bucks on this book. I don't think I paid that much for it. I can't remember. It's been a while. I got it from Amazon. Alright, so here we go. This is row 1 of our trailless lace pattern. Plus, we have to start out with our little border. Everyone, everywhere. You knit the first 4 stitches. And the last 4. Every row. So I knit my border right there. And you can tug on any little tails and try to tighten things up. Alright, now here we go. I slide the marker. Row 1 of this pattern reads, it's the right side. It says knit 4, yarn over, slip 1, knit 2 together, then reach back and pass that slip stitch over. Yarn over, knit 3. And you continue across the row repeating until you get to the last 4 stitches, and it will end with a knit 4, just like you started. Alright, really quick. Alright, so here we go. Now I'm going to knit 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Yarn over, slip a stitch, slip 1. Now knit the next 2 stitches together. Reach back and pass that slip stitch over. Just pick it up and pull it over. Alright, now yarn over and knit 3 stitches. 1, 2, and 3. Now we can do the repeat. And of course you have a long, a long row of repeats. Alright, the repeat is on the screen. Yarn over, slip 1, knit 2 stitches together. Reach back and pass that slip stitch over. Yarn over, now knit 3. 1, 2, and 3. Again, yarn over, this is a repeat. Slip 1, knit 2 stitches together. Reach back and pass that slip stitch over. Yarn over and knit 3. 1, 2, and 3. I think I have one more. Alright, yarn over, slip 1, knit 2 stitches together, just like that. Oops. Reach back and pass that slip stitch over. Yarn over, and instead of knitting 3, you should have 4 stitches left. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just knit those 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, then I slide the marker, and there's my 4 stitches for the border. I knit them on every row. Now, if you have the book and you're reading from your book, you're going to think, well, Jade, my book says a little different. I just shorten it. I just, sometimes the book will write things out. They'll write it the long way, a little longer, and I just shorten it. But follow me on the screen. It's the same thing. But just in case if you ask, like, well, it looked like it was off. No, just follow it on the screen. It is the same stitch. Alright, so now, of course, the fun part of this is you just turn over. This is how easy it is. I knit the border, and then I'm going to purl all the lace stitches. Just like that. Let's see how far can I go. I knit the border, yarn in front, slide the marker, take my time. Let's see if I can get it done without changing the camera. And let's purl all of these all of the lace stitches, taking care not to drop your yarn overs. I tell you, sometimes when you find a stitch or when you're working stitches, and a stitch like this that's really quick and easy and simple, sometimes you have to kind of put them or, write them down in a little notebook or something. This would be cute on the edge of a sleeve. When you have, it's so hard to have to look for something when you want to make something, and then you have to think, well, where did I do with that stitch? Or I remember doing a stitch that was really easy, but you can't remember where you put it or the name. You could have favorite stitches. You could have a little notebook from the Dollar Tree and put down my favorite stitches. Or, I used to do forgetting stitches. That's why I love them so. I used to do forgetting stitches all the time. Anytime I ever saw a pattern or anything, whether it was in a magazine, a book, someone else's pattern, if they used any form of a forgetting stitch, I'd write that down. So I need to write that down. I might need that one day. That's a simple, like I said, this is only 4 rows. All right, I'm getting to the end. I yarn in back because I need to slide the marker and knit those last 4 stitches. I just wanted a nice tidy border so that I didn't have to, when we finish this sweater, I didn't want to have to pick up stitches and make a border. So your border is already included. See, it goes right up the sweater. All right, now there is the first row. You can see the lace. Now, that was row 2. And all wrong sides, purl. So now we'll go to row 3. Row 3, of course, we're back on the right side, and it reads, knit 1, yarn over, slip 1, knit 2 stitches together, reach back and pass that slip stitch over, yarn over, and knit 3. And you repeat to the end, and at the end you will just knit 1. Alright, so let's see, can we just get it all done without changing the camera? Alright, there are my 4 border stitches. Slide the marker, it's on the screen. It says knit 1. Alright, now do your yarn over, slip 1, knit 2 stitches together. This is real important. Reach back and pass that slip stitch over. If there's going to be any mistakes, you're going to get kind of off or something, it's going to be because you didn't pass the slip stitch over. I'm seasoned and I can't tell you how many times I forgot it. You pass that slip stitch over. So there it is. It kind of, you may not see it on this dark, but you'll see it on yours. It forms a kind of a slanted like stitch. So you know if you did it or you know if you didn't do it. Alright, so now yarn over. Now watch, I want to show you the next thing you can check yourself. It says knit 3, and you're going to see these 3 stitches in this order during the whole process, the whole pattern. So it says yarn over, which I have. Now knit 3. 1, 2, and 3. Let's go over it again. Alright. The repeat is yarn over. Here we go. Slip 1. Now knit the next 2 stitches together. Reach back and pass that slip stitch over. Yarn over. Now look for those 3 stitches. They'll fall in that order each time. 1, 2, and 3. Yarn over. Slip 1. Then there's knit 2 stitches together. Reach back and pass that slip stitch over. Yarn over and knit 3. You will have extra stitch if you don't pass it over. You can fix it, but if you're new, it might cause you frustration to try to figure out where is it? How can I get it? So just take your time. Alright, here we go. Yarn over, slip 1, then knit the next 2 stitches together, just like that. Reach back and pass that slip stitch over, yarn over, look for the 3, 1, 2, 3, so I see them. Knit 3, 1, 2, and 3. Alright, last repeat. Yarn over, slip 1, knit 2 stitches together, reach back and pass that slip stitch over. Now yarn over, and you only have one stitch left, so you knit, can you see it? Then you knit that one. Whew, we made it. Slide the marker and knit 4. Knit my little border. Now seasoned knitter's going to just breeze through this because it's... And there you have it. That's our little... This is the back of the sweater. And we're only going to do this repeat one time. We made that little decorative band. Now to finish it up, of course you have to go to row 4. So let me just do that real quick. Push your stitches up. I can get all this done on this one take. That'll save me some time. I do my border, slide, yarn in front, slide the marker. Now I'm going to take my time, make sure that I purl across without hopefully dropping any yarn overs. You have a long row. But as like I was saying, this would be one for the books. So I'll have to start reminding you of ones that we need to hold on to. Like, oh, we could use this in something else, and then we wouldn't have to look for it again. We wouldn't have to remember what book we took it out of or anything, because you can just simply write it down. You can write it in a little book. My favorite, lace patterns or something. I don't know, you name it something. And this would be really pretty. This would be beautiful in, of course, a scarf. Well, really, I'm going to show you the bonus. I have a scarf where I'm using the same stitch, but you could make it into a little shawl. Or all right, I'm coming up. I see my marker. I'm just on the purl side. Yarn in front now, slide the marker, and I have my 4 stitch border, and I knit those 4 stitches. Now this is why I want to, so I can get to the front so I can talk for a minute. Alright, so you see what we did. I won't repeat. I'm trying to learn not to repeat. Okay, so, but we have taken care of the complete 4 rows, and that's the way it looks. That's the pretty lace pattern right there. And they're nice and straight. Now, to get out of this, I want you to knit to, now the next row is on the front side. I want you to knit, purl back, then knit one more time and purl back. Does that make sense? Once you get to this point, you finish the lace, you did row 4. Now knit 1 and then purl back, that's 2. Then knit 1 more row and purl back. Then we will cut this yarn and go back to our original yarn. That will set in our pretty little lace area. So I'll do that off camera for this, and then I'll come back in just a minute, and we can just take a look at it. Well, we can take a look at it on the original one. All right, but that's where you are. Okay, back in just a minute. All right, now I can, we just finished working the back section of this, the lower back section of this little decorative band, and you can see this colors, it's still same part of the same yarn, but it's, it kind of fades into dark and light. So here's the dark. All right, so now this is what I can walk you through from this point. If I were you, I will continue to work the back. All right, you're going to need one measurement now. Now we need to take a measurement of how from the top of your shoulder down to your waist where you want your sweater to stop. And just pick a nice even number. So I decided to go with 20. I went back up to my regular 20 inches. So from where I want my sweater to, from the waist up to the top of my shoulders, I'm setting aside 20 inches. So that means I know I can go ahead now, since once we attach this gray yarn back to the sweater, as I just finished up with you, we attach the gray yarn, and now I can just keep working back and forth, doing other things or whatever, just working stockinette, knit on the front, purl on the back. I continue to knit up. All right, I don't have to worry about anything, but until I get up to about 4 inches from whatever the number you want for the length of your back. So I would have to stop at 16 inches. So I'd knit back and forth, and as I see that I'm coming up, up closer to my number, try to stop at least 4 inches before you reach your shoulder, before you reach the top. You want to stop on the back, then take the back and lay it aside. Then go to your front of your sweater. You're going to work the ribbing. We've already covered all that. This time you just start knitting. You finish the ribbing, and then you start knitting, front, knit on the front, purl on the back, knit on the front, purl on the back. The next measurement to know where you want to start the decorative stitch or the lace on the front side, you need to go up from your waist up under your arm. You can take and measure a blouse or whatever. I decided to go 11 inches from my waist or the bottom of this sweater up to where you see this color is right near 11 inches. If you have to go over just a little bit just to finish up the row or whatever, that's fine, to get on the right side, because you want to be on the right side just like we connected on the back side. You do the exact same connection that we just worked on the sweater. You cut the gray yarn or whatever your base color. Once you reach however many inches or centimeters or whatever you're working in to get to your underarm, where you say that's the bottom, you'd cut that gray yarn, the base yarn, and then add the decorative yarn. And then you're going to knit across. Then you're going to purl back, exactly like we did this. Then the next right side row, you start working row 1 of the pattern. Row 1, then purl back. The next row, row 3, purl back, and you keep going. Now this is all going to depend on how tall you are. I'm short, but I was able to get in 7 repeats. You probably can't see it because it's so dark, but there's some little bumps there, so I counted those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I was able to get in 7 repeats. Let's see, can I bring it a little closer? I'm sorry, I didn't know I was that far away. I changed the camera. Okay. Let's see, can I bring it? I was able to get in 7 of this little lace repeat right there. If you're taller, you're probably going to need 8 or 9. You don't have to have a certain number. It's just if you're taller, you're just going to need more. You want to make sure that you have at least, that you've saved at least 4 inches, like the back. Does that make sense? Another way to do it, or another way that I've shared with you before, to make sure you're in the right place. You remember these little ridges on the side, the little ridges right here, where we did the border. All right, you can actually count how many ridges on the back side you actually stopped at. You can say, okay, well, I'll just count my ridges on the back of the sweater. And you can go up and count, and like I said, you want to leave at least 4 inches. So I counted, and maybe I had 42. Maybe I had 42 of these ridges, and then I stopped. All right, so then you go to the front and go, okay, I'm going to keep working, and then I'll stop every once in a while from the very bottom, including after you start working the lace, all of that. How many? Okay, I need to work up to 42. stop so that the back and the front are equal. See, it's an easy way to do it this way, to count. Then sometimes your measurements are off, or sometimes you're just not feeling well. But these will be the same. So whatever you count up to, then you can stop. And then that's when, but you need to work your design. Here, you're going to work just like we did on the back. You finish row 4, you knit a row, purl back a row. Then you're going to connect your gray. That's where I want you to stop. So you've got work to do to work all the back up, and then you're going to work all the front up, and you're going to count these little ridges so that you wind up in the same place. Does that make sense? All right. Then we will come back together. Make sure we're on the same page as you finish up however many repeats of this lace you want. When you finish row 4 of the lace, then knit a row and purl back and stop. Just like we did. Then we'll go from there. All right, but just that easy. Easy count, easy way to just make this simple sweater. But I would go ahead and finish we'll go ahead and work on the back, and like I said, and then stop. All right, take care. Enjoy happy knitting, and I will see you back shortly. All right, through the magic of the video, I'm back. I know what you're saying. Jay, I'm just getting started. Well, filming and videos, it just seems like magic. So let me just walk you through. Let's just catch up and see if we're on the same page. We have two. Now, mine has half of it's been sewn together, but we're working in two separate pieces, the back and the front. We worked the back up so far, and then you kind of want to stop. Give yourself about 4 inches or so from maybe the shoulder or the top where you want to end. So that's about like that much. All right. Now what we need to do is go and talk about the front, because the back, we just need to be able to match the two together. And we're going to match the two by easy count, by counting and figuring out how many ridges I need for the front to finish it up. Then I can just come back and add and continue to work on the back till I have the same number of ridges. A lot easier than always trying to measure. Sometimes you can just be off. So let's go to the front. Like I said, mine is sewn up, but I think I can get it on the camera here. Let me just check, see if I'm on the camera. Yeah, I think that's good. All right. So, now I said when I left, I do distinctly remember saying about 4 inches, but really I don't think you need that much. So hopefully you're watching the video, going back and checking as you're working your sweater. All right, so I worked up so far from the bottom of the sweater to under my arms. And for me, it was about 11 inches. And then I worked up another, let's see, about how many. Sometimes people just like to know, well, Jay, what'd you have? Okay. Let's see, I did about 11. Okay, so the lace, then I worked another about 6 inches for the lace. Or I did 7 repeats of the lace. 7. And if you're taller, of course, you're going to need more repeats. You may need a couple more, 2 or 3 more. As long as you leave, and I said about 4 inches, but really you don't need you need about just 3 inches. So keep working up. And like I said, I did 7. If you want 7, that's fine. You work work all 4 rows, and when you finish row 4, that's a purl row. At the end, the last row is a purl row when you're working the lace. Then the next one, when you turn the work, you're on the right side, we're going to go back into knit across the row in the same color. Now, we hadn't gone back to the gray yet, or your base color. We're still in this decorative yarn. You can see it right here. Now you finish row 4, which was a purl row, then you knit all the way across, then you purl all the way back. And then that's when you change, just like I shared with you, you change back to your base color. For me, it's this gray. You see that? You just change back. And what are you going to do? You're going to knit all the way across and purl back in the gray. Does that make sense so far? Then, and Then is when you start to work on the top ribbing. You'll stay in pattern. You do the 4 border stitches, slide the marker. Of course, we're on the right side, the front side, so we'll knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, all the way across and work back and back. And you're going to do this for 11 rows. So you'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And when you get to the, go ahead and do 11. On this one, we actually work the 11th row. All right? You work, the 11th row will be on the right side, and you work across it. 1 more row. Then we're on the wrong side. And this is what works out, I found works really well. On the wrong side of the ribbing, you have gone as however many inches you want from your waist to the top of your shoulders. We're getting ready to end the front of the sweater. Then we can go make the back match the front. See, it's a lot easier because all we're going to do is count. On the wrong side, and normally when you bind off, especially in ribbing, or most, they'll say bind off in pattern, and I normally do that. But for this, I want you to simply bind off in the knit stitch. I don't want you to bind off in the pattern. I don't want you to go into knit, purl, knit, purl. You finish row 11 on the right side, and when you on your way back, you're on row 12, the wrong side, and you simply knit and bind off. Knit a stitch and bind off. Knit and bind off all the way across. I didn't think I have to show you that, so I'm just telling you. I think I can walk you through this part. All the way across, and it puts that funny line that would normally be on the right side on the wrong side. That's what I've been trying to share with you. I think pretty much this year that's the best bind off for some things. Sometimes, I do something different, but it gives a more stable edge, and that ugly line of right there. It's a funny line. It's on the wrong side. So you bind off, and that's it. Now, then you have to go to the back. After you've bound off, you've finished everything all the way up. And like I said, really you don't need but about 3 inches. It might go over, a little bit. But you're completely done with the front. This is when you stop and count again. You take time and start down here at the very bottom. You have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, all the way up. You just want to know how many of these ridges on the board. I hope I was in camera. All the way up to the end. Whatever that number is, guess what? How easy. Come over here, and if you have to count again to see, okay, now how many did I have that I left off, go all the way up, and then continue to keep working the back. Knit on the front, purl on the wrong side, knit on the front, leave about 3 inches. I don't ever be afraid if your back is always a row or 2 or 3 or even 4 longer than your front, because it gives nice drape to the front of the sweater when the back is a little higher. Does that make sense? So if you need to go over, you say, oh, well, Jay, I'm going to be over a little more than, I'm going to go over a little more by the time I do the 12 or the 11 ribbing rows. That's fine. That works out good. So it's okay to go above. So once you get up here and you got your little ridges counted, all right, then you go right into your ribbing, just like we did on the front. It's 11 rows. 1, 2, all the way. And then on the 12th row, you should be on the wrong side again. And this is when you're going to bind off with the knit stitch. Don't bind off in our regular knit and purls like we normally do. Just knit 2 stitches, bind off, knit the next stitch, bind off, knit, bind off, knit, bind off. And then that's going to put that little funny edge on the inside of the sweater. All right, so now you have 2 nice fronts And you know they're going to match because you've counted. Not just measure, you can measure, but you actually counted the ridges so that it's the same number on each piece. Does that make sense? Can you tell I'm a little tired? It's late at night. All right, so let me change the camera, and now we're going to sew up the seam. I want to show you how I sewed up the seam. We're almost home free. And I did it. Is it already? No, I think I was trying to see if I made it before 12, but I think it's after 12. All right, back in just a minute. Now, to sew up our seam to form our neck opening. I've already done this side, and I want to show you how I got this nice seam. That's the seam. It's not my usual seam, but since this stitch, the way the two sides come together, it just made it nice to do it this way, what I'm going to show you. But you can see the seam on this one and how clean it looks. I just left a tail to make sure before to do this other side. So here we go. Over here, you're going to lay it out, and this is wrong side to wrong side and wrong side. Normally I do it on the right side, but this seam worked out that it needs to be done on the wrong side because we did that funny little bind off. And so now I simply take a nice tail that was left, and we'll see how close. I think you can see this, how close. Yeah, nice and clear, I believe. Yeah, okay, hit the camera. All right, so I'm going to take my needle, and I'm going to go up under. Well, first I'm going to just go and connect the two together. And I already got a knot. Well, that's starting out great, Jay. All right, so first I'm going to connect the two edges really good over here, and I'm going to go under it again. I'm going to connect it just so that I have a nice connection right there, nice and smooth. See that? Now this, all right, now we're simply going to go up under. You see the V's on, or you know how the knit stitch has little V's on top. All right, we're going up under both strands of that V. Here on the one side, and then I find the opposite strand and go up under both just like that. On this side and this side. Go up under the V and pull it. Now I'm not going to cross back over. What I'm going to do is go to the next V on this side. Now that I'm over here, I go to the next V, the two. Make sure you're under both. Can you see that? I go up under that one and come over here and find the next one on this side, which is right there. So I'm going to lay it down here flat, a little flatter. And I'll go up under there. All right, so you don't see the yarn being crossed over. We're not like whip stitching. We're going up under, all right? Let me just look again in my camera. Let's just see if I guess you can see that. I just want to make sure you can. Sometimes you can get the camera too close and then. All right, so here we go. Now I can just kind of work. I'm on this side, so I'm simply going to find the next V right there, or the next stitch. I go up under. I find the corresponding stitch on this side. I go up under those two strands. So now I have that on the needle. And I keep it laying flat on the counter and just pull it through. No crossing over on top like this, back and forth. You're going to work up under. Now I'm going to the next one. See if I'm trying to keep my hands out of the way. Here's the next one right there. I go up under. I reach over here and find the next one over here. So I have two, and I come up under. And then now I'm on this side, so now I got to work back under on this side. Find the next stitch right there. Go up under both little strands on top. Is that clear enough? And then find the one on this side to match. Now I can pull that through. Alright, let's see, alright, find the next stitch on this side. I hope my hand's not in the way. Right here, there's two. See, I'm right up under those two stitches. Find the one that corresponds on that side. pull it through, lay it flat. Now on this side, up under 2. Here's the next stitch on this side. Then I pull it through. Just slide it right through. No crisscrossing or that kind like maybe you would normally do. Alright, so wherever the yarn comes out, then you start on that from that side. So see, if I start on this side, it'll crisscross. So the yarn is coming from this side, so I need to go to the next stitch on that side. And then bring it to this side. Then pull it through. And just make sure there's no puckering or anything like that. It should be laying flat. See, there's a flat seam has already started. See how flat it looks? Alright, now on this side, because that's where the yarn is, I go to the next stitch. Right there. Just stay right up under those 2 strands at the top, right there. And then find the corresponding stitch on this side. Now I have 1, 2, 3. I can see 4 little strands. Pull it through. Keep it flat. Now on this side, I go to the next stitch like this. Come up under, go over on the next corresponding stitch on this side. See, now there's a nice, on this side, it's just a simple seam. Go up under the next one on this side and look for the corresponding stitch on that side and pull it through. Since I'm over here, I come under and under and pull it through. Whoops. There we go. And then back on this side and go up under those 2. And you will continue up. And of course, you're not going to tie up anything until you go up. You can measure about what I just like to go on up, and then I try it on. You know, I go on up and I leave so much open, and then I try it on, and if I need to loosen up one or 2 little strands, then I can just pull that one strand out, you know, just pull it back a little bit to my neck opening. So that's simply how you sew it, and here is a nice little clean flat line looking seam. It's not the normal crossover type seam. See how nice that looks? And then on this side, it's just a nice regular seam. Alright, so that is how you sew it up. And guess what? Since I didn't sew anything up on the sides, I left it to I let the buttons do the work. So let me turn it to this side. Here is the side that I have where I've put the buttons on. Now I may have to back out because I was okay, here we go. Alright, so on this side, I haven't steamed or anything. I just went ahead and tried to get it ready. So when I steam this out, I will make sure the bottom edge is lined up really well. You can take some pins or some clips or something and just kind of clip. You just kind of lightly fold the 2 borders on top. You know, one, I like to fold the front border on top of the back border. Instead of this way, I put my front over the back like that. And then kind of put a little pin or something to hold it in place. Then you just come here and start here, right here up under where this, you know, this is where the arm space starts with where we change the color. And I put a button. I just found me a button at Joanne somewhere. Like I said, it was hard. Buttons are expensive. And then on the black one, I put like 4 buttons. I had this one. I didn't have as many, so I just put 3 big ones. 1, 2, 3. Didn't even sew up the seams or anything. I just let the button hold it in place. But you can put more, you know, if you want more than 3, you can put more than 3. And then that leaves the arm space, of course, because I'm going to wear it on top of a turtleneck. That is the whole idea. Jay's turtleneck fall topper. So see, all I have to do is finish sewing that up and then put the buttons on this side, and I'm in business. It's ready to go. And then I can always throw me on a pretty flower. I don't have one near, but I'll throw this one up here. I'll put that one there. Should have brought one over. So, what do you think of? You think you might give this sweater idea a try? It's a nice sweater. Later on, we can come back and do it. We'll do it as a sweater more instead of just a topper, and actually do where we sew up the seam and then actually pick up stitches to do long sleeves or 3/4 length sleeves or something like that. It still makes a great sweater. But the whole point of this exercise is to be able to find a simple stitch, know how, first of all, understand the idea of the two pieces, how to measure, how to match it up by easy count like I'm sharing with you, and how to insert your design, because we're going to add other designs. We'll add cable, we'll do some other things. People, I'm telling you, you can't get it all done. Oh, you see, I've done 2 of these, and then I had the older ones. The ones you saw in the pictures, the brown and the gray one. You remember I had those back when my friend Judy and I used to knit at the mall. You remember when we did knit at the mall Fridays? And, of course, after she died, I tried to go back. I thought maybe I'll meet somebody or go over there and just sit. It just wasn't the same, so I gave that up. I just stopped. And, just kind of start knitting by myself, just going back to knitting on my own. But yeah, we used to, that's when I came up with the idea, because I wore turtlenecks over at the mall, because the air conditioner is at the top, up high, and it blows down. So we'd sit in the seating area, and boy, you didn't want to sit there with the coat and gloves on trying to knit. So it made sense to wear turtleneck sweaters to keep the air off our necks. But I wanted something, I wanted she'd always wear like a little shawl or something on her turtleneck, one of her scarves or shawls. And I decided to make this little sweater, and I called it a turtleneck topper. And that's how it came about. So, by me wanting to, just for myself, but then I saw that, okay, I'm going to share this. I had to sit down and redo it and come up with an actual pattern and numbers so that I could share it with you, and then you would be able in turn make it for yourself. And I've tried to make the steps very easy and very simple. So I hope you give this a chance. I hope you give this a try. I enjoy it. I have several more. Man, there's so much yarn that I want to show you that I picked up. All right, hold on. I'm gonna hold on. I'll come right back. Okay. I thought since this was the end of the video, I would go ahead and pull out some other colors just to kind of get you excited about the simple use of, listen people, this yarn is going to wind up in the Goodwill or in some other thrift store. So let's try to use what we can. We're still in the shut-in mode, and we can shop in our own house. You can save our new yarn for something new. Maybe the first part of the year, maybe things will maybe things will look better. So dig into your stash, like I'm going to show you. I ran back and just picked out some out of my stash, and let's try to use this up. And this is a really cute little pattern. All right, so for instance, here's that old plain generic black, any brand. Like I said, this is just as long as it's a good number 4 weight yarn. That's only because that's what I gauged it to, the number 9 needle. You can do this in any yarn and any needle, but you need to go through the process and get your own numbers. The numbers that I've shared are for a number 9 needle on a number 4 weight yarns. All right, so generic black. Now look, this is still some just inexpensive yarn. You can use whatever quality of yarn. If you're an advanced knitter and you want to use your wool or hand dyed, whatever, go for it. But like I said, it needs to be the weight for the needle. Here's something. This is just real pretty. I'm just pulling things out of my stash because I don't know what's going to happen to this yarn if I don't try to use it up. So here's some other colors. I won't even call out the name. They're just some of the print colors. This happens to be from Hobby Lobby. Some of them don't even have names. Oh, this is Moody Mosaic. Moody Mosaic. I don't know what that means, but I bought about 4 of them. It was just a regular 30%. I didn't catch that big yarn haul. I just don't have anywhere to put any more yarn. I got bags over here on the floor now. I hadn't even opened. All right, so then here's something pretty. That will go with black. It's called Aqua Black. Look at that. Using the same stitch, and later on we'll do another stitch. We'll do a cable. I'll add more stitches, but what you need to do is do the first sweater to get your numbers, to see where you fit in one of the sizes. Then when the next time I do this, which will be, as soon as we take care of some of the other things I have in store, with a new stitch, you'll be ready. And then we'll just add a new stitch. But here's some yarn. So I wanted to do this. I thought, well, this would be nice at the end of this. So look at that. Look at all those sweaters. Just using black. Of course, I could use a pretty teal. Look, I could pair this with a teal. Look at that. This is just some old clearance yarn from Joann's Sincerely. Lord, I still got this yarn. Well, it's a number 4, so it'll work. I think it's a number 4. Look at that. I didn't even notice that. Let me move this out of the way so you can see it. So we can plan what we're going to do. So there's some teals. Look at that. I hope it's showing up. There's a light. Yeah, I got the light on. There's the teal, and I just found this back there in a bag in one of my plastic bins. Teal and teal with a little black in there. Wouldn't that be cute? All right, let's go to another one, okay? Since I have this one out, look at this. This is I don't know why I have this. This is real old, people, because I got rid of all my red heart because I only used red heart to do Afghans. But apparently I have some variegated. I have a few left, I guess, some variegated. I just found this down in the bottom of the barrel. But look at that. That's teal and teal. How does that look? Just using up yarns. Okay. And then that same gray that I used could kind of go with that. I could have stuck that teal and gray with this gray that I made the sweater from. Look at that. That will be fun. Okay, let's see what else I can find. All right, here's one. This is some, well, this I know what I was going to do. I don't really use the big twist, the value, but I have some, everyone's making the pocket shawl. I'm not doing one since everybody else, we don't need 1,000,001, so. But I am going to make them for a few friends, and they're not really, they don't know anything about hand knitting or stuff like that. I'm just going to do something, and this is something that they're older, and people are going to throw their stuff in the wash. They're not going to sit there and be talking about, oh, let me block this, and no, they're going to throw it in the wash with the with their pajamas or their nightgown, But anyway, so I had some of this big twist, and they'll like it. They're not going to be snobbish about it. They don't even understand hand knits or hand crocheted. I'm gonna crochet something. But look, reason I brought it out because I happened to see this. I found this in the bottom. Like I said, it's 2 different brands, but they're number 4, and it really doesn't matter. You just want the weight to fall, to work well with the number 9 needle. Look at those 2. See? This is just stash diving. And already we have, I don't know how many, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 new sweaters. Well, we may as well do one more. Let's see, can I do? And then I looked and I found this green. Look at that. And then here's some of this print. Has a little green. Same kind of green. Or I could have matched it with a, looks like one of those periwinkle type blues. It's not dark blue, or it's more like a periwinkle. I don't know how good it's showing up on the camera, but, and this is just Hobby Lobby. This is, maybe it's Hobby Lobby too. I have no idea. I don't have a band on it. But I'd have to make sure now, the solid colors, you want to make sure that you have at least 2 full skeins, one for the front and one for the back. Because it's going to take those skeins on, and if you're a larger size or taller, you may have to have an extra. You may have to have 3. This, you probably can get by with 1 skein. I bought 2 of anything that I have so that I have it. But for the little decorative stitch, you probably can get by with 1. But if you have 2, great. Well, what do you think? What do you think with all these ideas and all these yarns? Oh my God, it's endless. We could just go on forever and ever. We can just make us all kind of pretty sweaters and things. Let's see, can I get some teal over here? Just look, I had no idea that I had so many good yarns that I could pair. So what do you think of that? Well, like I said, what you have to do, I designed this first sweater for beginners, you know, someone who's just want to get into a little garment knitting. This is a nice sweater. Once you get, you know, you knit the first one, then we can tweak it or whatever. If it's not quite right, we can tweak it. But it's just a basic front and a back sweater with some decorative yarn and a soft, you know, 4-row repeat stitch. And it looks like you are a seasoned knitter. So I hope you give it a try. If you give it a try, be sure to send me some pictures. And like I said, we will continue. The next time I'll add a harder stitch. It's time to get in some cables. You saw the book review. That starts the first of the year. Some of the Wendy Bernard books. That's more for my seasoned knitters and advanced knitters. But, you know, I will always try to throw in something for beginners. You know, a little scarf or something. Or like I said, we'll go back and add more, you know, we'll upgrade the stitches for this simple sweater. Something you have in mind. Oh, and then I need to show you how to take that sweater, the same one these 2 that I just finished, and how to simply put the sleeves in. Oh, the sleeves would be really pretty. Even in the decorative yarn, you could have the black, and then, let's see, for this one, let's see, can I put this one over? It's real close. Here's the black one. I probably have to back so you can see it. Let me see where I am on the camera. I'm just sitting real close. Okay, so for this one, I could move all of this. Just say, throw it out. Look, people, this is how they're going to do your stuff when you're no longer around. Look, they just going to throw your stuff. They're going to throw my stuff just like that. Nobody's going to sit there and hee-haw or pay you more for that yarn than what you pay for it. Trust me. Now, wouldn't this be cute if I did one and then I picked this color up to make the sleeve? That'd be cute instead of just having black on black on black. Well, we could. But that would be cute to have the sleeve in this, like the decorative stitch. What do you think? Hope that's not too close. So that's another possibility. I'm telling you. We've dived in my own stash, and this is quick and easy, and I think you're going to enjoy it. And I know it will build your skill. It will raise your skill level, and then we can just continue to grow together. Well, this is Jay. I thank you for joining me, and I will see you soon. I'm working on new projects. I'm working on a new top-down sweater for my seasoned knitters. For my crocheters, I'm going to, on this video, probably in the comment section or somewhere, I'm going to just go ahead and put the links to some of my crochet items that would really make great projects here during this during our upcoming holiday season. So I'm going to give you the link so that you can revisit some of those projects. I really have some nice crochet items, and I always give you something to go along with it, and I try to show you how to take it from scratch, make a formula, how to work it yourself, how to increase, and how to do everything. So I'm going to link some of those. I'm going to pick out 2 or 3, and then, go back and revisit, or if you're new, check it out. I've got a lot of things up, so a lot of things get missed, or you just can't find them, or they get overlooked. So I'm going to put some of the crochet videos, the links in the comment section so that you can go back and take a look at them. Well, I'm going to get busy, so I will see you later. So I'm telling you, it's fun, and I can't wait to see your version of this sweater. All right, this is Jay. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.